Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the PvM Hub. This series aims to be a collection of beginner-friendly revolution guides teaching you how to approach all of the different bosses in RuneScape. Keep in mind that these guides will not be optimal, but simply a good starting off point for those hoping to learn bossing. This time, we'll be looking at Saradomin's greatest soldier, Commander Zilyana. Commander Zilyana is the fourth and final God Wars dungeon general we'll be looking at in this series. Her biggest draw is the dual-wield Armadillo crossbows that she drops, as well as the Saradomin's hilt. While she is the last one we'll be looking at, she is the one I would recommend the least. She deals a large amount of constant damage, both melee and mage, and has the lowest value drops on average. Regardless, this guide will be broken up into a few different parts. They will be the recommendations and requirements, setting up your revolution bar, the important facts and mechanics of the fight, and then a full fight breakdown. For requirements, Zilyana has the most difficult in my opinion. She requires 70 agility to reach the Saradomin encampment, and 40 kill count to get into the boss arena. For my recommendations, we will be using dual-wield melee as it has high single target DPS, and melee armor will protect us better from the sources of damage we'll be encountering in this fight. For stats, I would recommend 75 base stats for melee, and 85 is better if you can get them that high. For prayer, I would suggest 65 at a minimum for chivalry, and 70 will be much better than that for piety. I will strongly suggest 52 summoning for a spirit terror bird, but 67 is always better for a war tortoise if you can get there. Lastly, I would recommend around 400k for gear and supplies at a minimum. If you can afford higher tier gear, it will make a big difference at this boss. When buying gear, I would strongly suggest upgrading your weapon first, and then looking at power armor like Bandos or Anima Core of Zeros. In my setup for this video, I will be using full Necronium armor, which is tier 70 melee tank armor. I will be bringing an Abyssal Whip and an offhand Necronium battle axe. For my Saradomin item, I'm using a single Saradomin arrow, which can be bought off the Grand Exchange for about 200 GP. In my inventory, I'm bringing a set of super potions, 2 prayer potions, and then the rest of my inventory is full of food. It's worth noting that my Spirit Terror Bird is already summoned and full of food as well. For additional recommendations, I would suggest the Totem of Intimidation, which will allow you to skip getting kill count completely, and the Shard of Zeros, which will make all minions in the God Wars dungeon non-aggressive towards you. In terms of auras, I would recommend any of the following: Berserker, Brawler, Penance, and Vampirism. With recommendations out of the way, let's take a look at your Revolution bar. If you're unfamiliar with Revolution, it's a system in RuneScape that will automatically use your abilities for you, from left to right. To take advantage of this, we'll put our strongest abilities furthest left, so they get used more often, weaving in our threshold abilities which require 50% adrenaline. Above is a revolution bar suggested by the PvM Encyclopedia and will get you the best results. Normally I would recommend my own bar beneath this, but seeing as the only unlock here is Tuska's Wrath at the very end, I figure we should just use theirs. From left to right, it reads Destroy, Decimate, Dismember, Berserk, Sever, Havoc, Barge, Assault, Slaughter, Slice, and Tuska's Wrath. If you don't have Tuska's Wrath, consider swapping it out for Fury. If you find yourself taking too much damage with this bar, try moving Berserk a little bit farther back. Just like Kriara, since there aren't many mechanics to focus on, let's talk a bit about melee DPS. The abilities we'll be looking at will be Fury and Assault. Both of these moves share animations, but cancelling them for max damage is slightly different. With Fury, you'll want to cancel it right away, and you'll get a free second hit from it while performing your other ability. And for Assault, you'll want to wait until you see the animation of your attack swinging down, and using a different ability here will allow you to get all 3 hits of Assault and the damage from the ability you just used. If you do this consistently, Fury and Assault will become some of your strongest abilities. With that done, let's finally look at a full kill. We start off by teleporting to Trollheim and going down the mountain to the north like we do with all the other God Wars dungeon bosses. When you hit this point, turn on Protect from range to protect yourself from the trolls on the cliff. And then once we get past this boulder, make sure you turn on Protect from melee. If this is your first time ever to the God Wars dungeon, bring a rope to go down this entrance here, but if you've done that before, you won't need it ever again. Once you get down, head east over to the Saradomin encampment. Try and pick off low HP monsters, as they will make this much easier for you. You can turn on Protect from Mage if you want to reduce the damage that you'll take, but maybe bring an extra prayer potion if you'd like to do that. These minions will be harder to kill, as there are no really low combat minions for you to focus. Take your time and do your best to make sure your supplies don't go down. These minions will also occasionally drop sharks, which you can use to replenish the food in your inventory. Once you have 40 kill count, make your way down the cliffs and get into the boss arena. Here I eat back up to full, I turn on Protect from Melee and Chivalry. You would also want to use your super potions here. I am opting not to use mine as they would raise my stats too high above my recommendations. Commander Zilyana will do a lot of damage to you over the fight, so make sure you're comfortable eating at good times. Try not to eat when you're hovering right around 50 adrenaline, as it will reduce your adrenaline and make you unable to use any threshold abilities. You can see my health is getting very low. I would not suggest cutting it this close, and I would recommend eating up a little bit higher if you are uncomfortable with PvM. Something I wish I would have done here that I would suggest to everyone is using Devotion and Debilitate to reduce the amount of damage you'll take during this fight. It will really help you save supplies, and it will help you last longer during your trips. I'm also cancelling my Assault and Fury abilities whenever they come up to get the full damage, but at a shorter amount of time. Something I'm doing here is walking my Slaughter ability. If you use Slaughter and then force your creature to move, it will deal triple damage for the remainder of its duration. You can see I went through a lot of food in one kill, so I wouldn't recommend this setup for extended trips. However, it would be just fine if you're planning to do this with a friend, or if you're planning for 1 kill trips per. Once the boss is down, I focus the Mage minion, then the Range minion, and finally the Melee minion. Once that's done, you can attune a portal at War's Retreat to get here much faster than next time. With that, we've taken down every boss in the God Wars dungeon, we've learned a bit about dual wield DPS, and have taken our first steps into learning higher level PvM. I really hope that you have enjoyed this guide. If it was helpful, please let me know by leaving a thumbs up, and if you find more than one of my videos helpful, please consider subscribing. If you're watching this the day it comes out, I will be live streaming on Twitch. My plan is to help anyone who shows up with whatever bossing they would like to do. If that sounds interesting to you, come check it out at twitch.tv/zingy09. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Zingy out.